Hello, and welcome to my review of the Nitecore TINI2. This video has chapters in case you want to skip around, but I recommend watching the whole thing because I go in depth about the UI, practicality, construction, and more. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the review. The first thing I want to get out of the way is just how teeny this thing really is. It's almost the size of an SD card, and it's a bit ridiculous seeing 500 lumens coming out of something this small. It's less obtrusive than the Victorinox Climber that I usually carry around on my keychain, and it weighs a lot less too. It looks pretty big in the product pictures, and some shots in this video will make it big just so you can see it better. But here's a size comparison with everyday items so you can see just how small it really is. It has USB Type-C recharging and a built-in 280 mAh battery. That doesn't sound like a lot of capacity, but Nitecore makes pretty good use of it. I'll go more in depth on runtimes near the end of the review. The dual TIR optic produces a nice beam that has a really useful mix of flood and throw. The LEDs themselves are a cool white Osram LED that I'm not familiar with, but I can confidently say that it doesn't have very good CRI. That's probably how Nitecore keeps the runtimes high, so I won't complain about it. It is a keychain after all. The light appears to be built in three main pieces, with a plastic body sandwiched in between two metal shells. This probably gives it more rigidity than just a pure plastic construction, and for something that's going to be knocking around on a keychain, that's probably important. A headline feature of the TINI2 is the OLED screen. It is a gimmick, but it's a damn cool one. It lets you check battery status, see your estimated runtime, brightness, and most importantly, it reminds you who you paid $40 for a light-up keychain. I honestly love the status screen and I wish more lights had it. Regardless of what it does on this particular model, I think the screen opens up a whole new world of possibilities for interaction, and I hope Nitecore expands on this in future models. If the battery is really low, the buttons have a backlight and they will flash to indicate that it needs to be charged. The bottom switch is a power button and the top is a mode button. When the light is off, press the mode button to check the battery, or hold it to trigger a 500 lumen momentary turbo. While the light is on, the mode button cycles as you would expect, but holding it will still trigger a momentary turbo. If you hold the power button while the light is off, it will turn on in ultra low, and I really like that. It has a lockout mode, and this is where I think Nitecore could do a better job. You see, if you carry this thing in your pocket on a keychain, it's obviously going to get activated at some point, so lockout is pretty much mandatory if you're using it that way. To Nitecore's credit, the lockout is simple and quick to use. Just long press the power button while the light is on to put it into either one of its lockout modes. The only difference is mode 1 still allows for a short turbo burst, while lockout 2 is totally off. The problem is you have to remember to lock it out every time you use it, and you're probably not going to do that. I know I'm going to forget it, so that means as great as this thing might be, someday I'm going to really need it and it's going to be dead. So what's the solution to this? Well, I think if Nitecore would implement a mode that defaults to lockout when you turn it off, the problem would be solved. It only takes around a second to turn it on from lockout, so just let us put it in a mode where the tap and hold sequence is the only way to turn it on. No accidental activations, and no having to remember to lock it out every time I use it. The light has something called a demo mode, where it just turns itself off after 30 seconds, but that can get frustrating. So what about runtimes? Well, Nitecore rates the 200 lumen high mode to last for 45 minutes, and in my test it started to dim at around 48 minutes, so their ratings are pretty spot on. That's always great to see. It's worth noting that I performed this test on a freshly charged battery. I think the TINI2 is a really cool product that could appeal to a lot of people. It has its flaws with the lockout mode, but I imagine that won't be a big deal for a lot of customers. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and if you plan on picking one up.